Welcome everyone to the 185th Celebrity Synastry chart reading, where we will be looking into Jung Min and Jung Hae. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Adeline and it is so nice to meet you. On this channel, I look at the dynamic between two celebrities using astrology. For those new and returning, I take notes on a synastry chart looking at the personal, planet, signs, aspects, and of birth times available house overlays. I share these notes and add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. So if that sounds good to you, subscribe and click the bell to join us twice a week, and let's get right into this one. Starting off the sun, we have Min's sun in Pisces and Hae's sun in Aries. They balance each other out positively, and Hae's lack of subtlety can hurt Min's feelings. Hae depends on Min's sensitive and generous nature, which they're both actors, so I assume like that sort of sensitivity would kind of be good for things. Min admires Hae's boldness and honesty. Hae may intentionally take advantage of Min. I don't like that. That's yuck. Not a great start. Min's sun opposite Hae's moon. There's a stronger mutual attraction and the differences attract them, which kind of we did see, like, Hae likes Min's like sensitivity and Min likes Hae's boldness. They are both drawn to the relationship, which you could also see as being drawn to the project they're in. They're on a K-drama, I believe. So yeah, they would be potentially drawn to each other, like obviously the relationship, but also could be drawn to the project that they're in. Min may find Hae too dependent. I mean, we did see he depends on her, so that's kind of repeating itself. Hae may find Min overbearing. Min's sun opposite Hae's Mercury. There is good communication and they enjoy learning together. They have a productive domestic life, which you could see, as actors, they both balance out, have a balanced life. You could say, like, they're not constantly on set. I'm not sure, because I know Korean music industry can be a bit harsh. I'm not sure about the acting industry, though. The Hollywood, American Western acting industry is very demanding. I'm sure it would be similar to, that sort of thing of being very demanding, but maybe these two prioritize their domestic life as well. They share and talk about ideas, and Hae values Min's views. Hae feels free to speak freely around Min. Min's sun is sextile Hae's Venus. They really love each other, and Hae boosts Min's ego. I mean, if he's quite dependent on her, I'm sure it would do a little bit of something for her. Min feels adored by Hae, and both have a desire for cooperation and harmony. Min's sun is sextile Hae's Mars. They motivate each other, and they give each other space. They have different hobbies, and Min admires Hae's drive. They can further the other's goals. I mean, yeah, by working together, they kind of do, don't they? Neither feels blocked, and they both give the other confidence. They participate in activities together, which I assume would be the whole, industry, the whole acting thing. They're straightforward with each other, which I think would become a bit more, because I think we saw how Min admires Hae's boldness and honesty. So I assume she is kind of inspired by that to also reciprocate that, honesty and everything. They tend to get annoyed with each other. Min's sun is square Hae's Saturn. Hae sacrifices his freedom, and they both attempt to support each other. Min is too sensitive to criticism, and they both will mature. Min may outgrow Hae. So I assume, I'm not sure if the drama is still running, but if it will be running, I guess it's hard to say with these things, because it's like, when it will be, finishing, or maybe it has already finished, I'm not sure, but I assume the end of the show is potentially when Min is outgrowing Hae in terms of career or something like that, moving on to another project. Hae tends to be too critical of Min, and Min feels blocked and discouraged by Hae. Min sees Hae as all the traditions she wants to overcome. Interesting. They both need to really want this relationship to work. Min's sun is square Hae's Uranus. It's not predictable or stable. It is, the industry they're in, which I'm curious, maybe it'll be in a different way, because we did see how they both prioritize domestic life. Separation occurs and causes strain, and Hae feels trapped by Min over time, which is interesting. because we're seeing how she outgrows him, so it just makes me think that she's, the one not necessarily like as invested, you could say. So I wonder, I don't know, but you could see it as the characters as well. I forget about that every single time. The relationship can start and end suddenly, which would make sense like in real world terms, like if they met, on set and everything, and if the show suddenly gets like cut, or if Somin suddenly cancels the show and leaves, that's sudden. They cannot rely on each other in the long term, and Somin grows tired of Haeun's inconsistency. Maybe that's how she feels blocked and discouraged. Maybe, I don't know, if he's a bit more like predictable, not very stable and everything, and overall inconsistent, and maybe that is why she feels the need to step away from the show. Somin initially finds Haeun attractive and appealing. Haeun's sun squares Somin's moon. There's a basic misunderstanding and there are practical disagreements, seemingly, yes, like especially with the whole criticism thing, and there seems to be some sort of instability and conflict with how stable they are. Somin sees Haeun as too rational and selfish. I mean, selfish if he's like kind of like being very unstable and everything, because that doesn't help things, does it? Haeun sees Somin as too sensitive, which we're seeing again with the whole criticism thing, how he tends to be critical of her, she tends to be a bit sensitive. There is general discontent, and Somin may feel resentful towards Haeun over time. So there seems to be initial, like, sort of, I appreciate, a general appreciation in the beginning, but over time, it seems like that sort of diminishes, resentment comes with over time. Haeun's sun squares Somin's Saturn. This is a repeated aspect, just inverted, so everything from before is further emphasized, but also Somin sacrifices her freedom, and Haeun may outgrow Somin. So maybe they both leave the show at some point, move on to better things. Haeun is too sensitive to criticism, and Somin tends to be too critical of Haeun, which, to be fair to Haeun, we did see in the beginning how potentially, because we did see how Somin influences Haeun to be a bit more sensitive, or her sensitive nature influences, which makes me think that maybe she's being a bit more critical of Haeun in terms of like the acting style and everything. We haven't really seen specifically what Haeun is being critical of Somin about. Haeun feels blocked and discouraged by Somin, and Haeun sees Somin as all the traditions he wants to overcome. So they both seem to feel like blocked by each other, is what I'm seeing. Haeun's sun squares Somin's Uranus. This is another repeated aspect, just inverted, so everything from before is further emphasized, but also Somin feels trapped by Haeun over time. Haeun grows tired of Somin's inconsistency, and Somin changes and challenges Haeun's life. Haeun initially finds Somin attractive and appealing, so they both seem to feel the same way about each other, like resentment-wise. I feel like it's hard to say again, like when you ask them why the relationship has deteriorated, they may not be at that point, but I feel like because it seems like that will, it's likely that this will be, deteriorating more than not, considering what we've seen, like this resentment building up. I feel like if you ask them why resentment has built up, they're going to say like the exact same thing. Haeun's sun squares Somin's Neptune. There are misunderstandings. I think we did see misunderstandings before, which kind of makes sense. Like if they both feel like quite blocked by each other, like I think sometimes, that's when two people kind of see that, not always, but sometimes when two people see the things the same way about the other, and they haven't like necessarily pinpointed it, sometimes that could, to me anyway, indicate maybe they're just generally irritated by each other, just misunderstanding and not connecting, if that makes sense. There is delusion and deception. I mean, they're acting, so it's gonna happen. Both glamorize each other, and attraction is based on appearance. That could be the initial draw to them. It could just simply be attraction. I'm not sure if either of these two are in relationships or anything like that, but that could very well be just initially they were just drawn to each other's appearance. Somin promises more than gives, and Haeun believes Somin is a soulmate. Again, considering what we have seen, maybe not, but potentially, because obviously the whole acting thing is like they're acting when they are in each other's energy most of the time, they are as different people. acting as different people, obviously, explaining acting, silly me, but potentially their characters, you know, maybe the character that Haein plays believes Somin is a soulmate. Somin eventually disappoints Haein, which I feel like this could be more real world, because there seems to be disappointment, like in terms of like they both initially are quite drawn to each other, but they both tend to like over time build resentment towards each other. They both need to be clear about expectations. I think this will be more on Somin's end, considering I don't think we saw anything on Somin about her being unpredictable. I think it was just Haein being the more unpredictable one. So I wonder if maybe there is, I don't know, expectations Somin has, like you have to be punctual to work. Like that's not too crazy. But you know what I mean? Like probably needs to be clear that this is irritating me, come to work on time or something like that, in whatever way his unpredictability and inconsistency manifests. Now for the intermission, this video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized Synastry chart readings on my Etsy store. I do both basic and detailed ones. The basic ones are a bit more simple to understand and really good for those just beginning out in astrology, getting their heads around it, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed readings are very similar to what I do here, so it's a lot of it just with my insights and interpretation on the chart. So if you're interested in that and everything else, astrology and tarot, readings and gifts, definitely check out my Etsy store for that. I'm always releasing new other things there as well. And you can even just favorite the store just to support me for free. Thank you for listening, and let's get back to the reading. So now it's time for moon. We have Somin's moon in Cancer and Haein's moon in Virgo. They both worry a lot, and Somin appreciates Haein's devotion. Somin may find Haein difficult to live with. Well, I'm not sure, again, how it works in, like, you know, the acting industry in Korea, if it is any different to the Western world and how they conduct things, because obviously the Korean, the K-pop scene is a bit different to the American one, so I assume the acting scene would also have differences. So I'm not sure if like there is a setup or they have like the little like caravans and everything on set and all of that, but that is there if, you know, I assume they would be kind of living together at some point, at least in somewhat close proximity. They express their care differently, and Somin can help Haein be more loving. Somin's moon opposite Haein's Neptune. They negatively influence each other, and Somin clings to Haein. Haein doesn't fit with Somin's vision of him, which I assume may be sort of the initial impression she had of him. Maybe that is what's like kind of deteriorating. The sort of vision she had of him, like her first impression, she created a sort of image in her head, and that was just not lived up to. They misunderstand each other's signals, we're seeing again, and Somin makes Haein feel safe. I assume it's due to her sort of more sensitive nature. They both feel guilt when they are separated. So I wonder if they take breaks from each other, because on both ends there seems to be like a sort of like pull away, like a sense of pull away and outgrowing, like I've outgrown this, I want out sort of thing. So I wonder, I don't know if they separate, like they take breaks of filming maybe to like find other projects or something like that. It's difficult to define boundaries, and they may lose themselves in each other, which again, I feel like the acting thing, like I wonder, I don't know if maybe there is some overlap between like characters and like when they're, you know, they're sort of realness, when they're real people. Somin's moon, Trine Haein's Pluto. It's an intense meeting, and they both will need to let go of fake personas. No idea how that works. I guess when it comes to like how when they're in their sort of in the real world, so to speak, rather than like playing characters, they need to let go of their characters, you know. They both bring truth and change in social and political areas together, and they have a strong bond. They're involved in organizations together, and they can solve problems in their community. They can go through difficulties together, and they both can transform each other. Haein's moon opposite Somin's Venus. They both learn balance and harmony, and living beyond means occurs. It's easy to take each other for granted, and they will not appreciate each other sometimes, not really surprisingly so. Like, we've seen a lot of like misunderstandings and like how they're kind of, you know, building resentment towards each other. Haein may feel undervalued or misunderstood by Somin, not really surprisingly so, and compromise needs to happen. Somin gets confused with Haein's emotions. Maybe that's why she misunderstands him, potentially just emotionally wise. High In sees Somin as narcissistic and seductive, and Somin sees High In as childish and needy, which I assume maybe due to his inconsistency, that is why she sees him as a bit more childish maybe. High In's moon trines Somin's Mars. They're instinctively drawn to each other and there's a mutual attraction, definitely initially. It's a lively relationship and arguing is not uncommon. High In nurtures and feeds Somin's ego. I mean, it seems like he's taking on a bit more on like the criticism side of things. We haven't really seen anything on Somin and what she kind of takes from, what kind of criticism and like knowledge she takes from High In. Somin teaches High In to be more brave and confident, and they both learn about their instincts and needs here. Expressing feelings is spontaneous here, so I wonder if maybe they're a bit more like improvisational. If they improvise a bit more when it comes to the acting style. High In's moon trines Somin's Jupiter. There is good fortune and there's a possibility of being too excessive. They're happy in each other's presence and adventure is important in this relationship. Honest communication is easy and Somin helps High In with his emotions. Which maybe there is a bit of like overlap in terms of like High In's real emotions versus the emotion his character needs to have. Maybe that is where they need to kind of let go of fake personas maybe. So now it's time for Mercury. We have both their Mercuries in Pisces. So they prioritize their feelings and emotions. So I assume, they're both quite in touch with their feelings. It seems like Somin more so when it comes to acting maybe, and High In kind of overall is quite more emotional. They nurture each other and they are both invested in this relationship. They understand the other's intuitive approach to life and they are both sensitive and take things personally, which is probably not the greatest combination if they're both critical of each other. Somin's Mercury sextile High In's Jupiter. High In appreciates Somin's thoughts and ideas and there's open communication. There's a strong friendship and High In often gives Somin the benefit of the doubt. Business together is beneficial and they have an optimistic meeting. They enjoy traveling together, so I don't know if traveling to different locations maybe is a thing for these two, and they love to laugh together. They intellectually stimulate each other, which goes back to the idea of how they learn from each other, particularly it seems like acting styles and like their criticism of each other. Somin's Mercury sextile High In's Neptune. There is easy communication and they share creative interests. They both enjoy talking about art streams and spirituality, and they just get each other. They are captivated by each other. So yeah, again, going back to the idea, initially they do seem to be quite captivated and attracted to each other. Somin's Mercury trine High In's Pluto. They have deep conversations and there's a revealing of deep dark secrets here. There's healing negative beliefs about relationships and High In helps Somin open her mind. It's a therapist-patient relationship. I mean, I guess in a way, like, it's just the whole misunderstandings things that is throwing me off. Because in my head, I'm like, oh yes, Somin, because she helps him High In with his emotions. But we did also see the disconnect. She tends to misunderstand him. And we haven't really seen anything on High In's and that he's particularly, like, helpful in that way. I wonder maybe on the TV show, is it on the drama, do they have that kind of dynamic? Maybe that's where it's coming from. They feel very close to each other and they get to the bottom of matters. They resolve difficult issues together and Somin is fascinated with High In's depth. High In appreciates Somin's humor and easygoing nature. High In's Mercury conjunct Somin's Venus. They have flowing communication and they enjoy the same movies and music. They share mutual friends and they participate in social activities together. High In helps Somin verbalize her feelings. Okay, maybe that is how, like something to do with like verbalizing your feelings. The therapist-patient thing, that could be that. But potentially, I don't know, like is there an acting style where you verbalize your feelings? Obviously that kind of is acting, but maybe more so to focus on like your actual communication rather than like your feelings or something like that. Somin enjoys conversations with High In. So now it's time for Venus. We have Somin's Venus in Pisces and High In's Venus in Taurus. High In grounds Somin and their aesthetic tastes differ. Somin sees High In as her rock, which maybe that is where the therapist-patient dynamic comes from, because like we haven't seen anything before with High In, but now we're seeing like he helps her verbalize her feelings. Potentially he's her rock like emotionally. They complement each other and High In complains about Somin's moodiness. High in Valley, so means nurturing. High in's Venus, conjunct, so means Mars. There's romantic, emotional, and physical attraction. Again, we're seeing the whole attraction thing. Again, this could also apply to like the actors as well, because I have no idea if they're with other people or not, but that's, yeah, there. Again, as I said, the intensity does not fade and they will always remember each other. They have petty arguments and they know how to push each other's buttons. High in attracts Somin with his charm. High in's Venus conjunct Somin's Jupiter. It's a fortunate relationship and there's mutual attraction. They're forgiving, which probably would help like be a softening factor with all the sort of misunderstandings they may tend to have, and like, you know, they do seem to feel a bit blocked by the other. They enjoy the other's company and they are generous with each other. They enjoy social activities together, which we did see before that they're a social couple, which kind of adds up. They travel together, we're seeing again, and people enjoy being in their presence, which I feel like would make sense like socially, like in real life. But, you know, obviously like their, you know, their K-drama is big enough where, you know, it's been requested here. So obviously they're a pretty popular couple when it comes to like, you know, the, you know, audience and everything. And I assume like maybe there's like shipping going on between them. High in is affectionate with Somin. So now it's time for Mars. We have Somin's Mars in Gemini and High in's Mars in Capricorn. They tend to nitpick each other, and the criticism again. Somin feels unfulfilled by High in, which potentially could lead to, you know, her wanting to outgrow things. You know, she's kind of done with this project. She's learned what she's had to do. It's time to feel, you know, go on to something else, and she's no longer fulfilled by it. High in thinks Somin is too much, and High in finds Somin unsettling. High in's Mars trine Somin's Jupiter. They feel they can do anything together, and Somin is okay with High in asserting himself. Interesting. There is healthy competitiveness and they have fun together. They enjoy trying new things together and they have a shared interest in sports and travel. So travel again. So I assume there would be more traveling and not for this film and for the drama and everything, considering we're seeing, you know, quite a few things of like they travel together. Somin helps Hein get out of his comfort zone, which I assume would be the whole acting technique thing. Hein feels more energized around Somin and they're possibly a reckless relationship. Not sure how, but that is there. And they're a lucky couple. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share your thoughts below. I'd be very curious to see what you guys have to say about this one, if you interpreted it any differently to me. It is also a bit of a shorter reading, which really sucks. Like how some of these can be very long, some of these can be very short. And if you have made it this far, please consider subscribing for more. I post these readings twice a week. And besides that, give this reading a like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.